doesn't always give you much reason to smile. And though life sometimes has an attitude, I won't change mine. And all the love you've given, and all the ways you made, the fact that I'm still living, how dare I wear a frown on my face? I can't help but smile, 'cause I realize what you've done for me. All those battles you've won for me, and that someday soon you will come for me. I can't help but sing, 'cause you already gave me the victory. And no pain and no hurt and no misery could take away my smile. Ooh, take away my smile. Funny how people always have something to say, but I find peace in knowing that you love me anyway. And no matter how I'm feeling, you will never change. It ain't always easy living, but now that I have a choice today, I can't help but smile, 'cause I realize what you've done for me. All those battles you won for me, and that someday soon you will come for me. I can't help but sing, 'cause you already gave me the victory. And no pain and no hurt and no misery could take away my smile. Yeah. Welcome to the Mind and Soul Conference Part 2. We are excited to have you with us today because this conference is designed with you in mind. My name is Elder David Sanders, and I serve as a minister at the Inspirational Deliverance Center Church of God in Christ, where the Pastor Shirley Ann Hughes is our leader. This conference is a part of the vision of our pastor, to positively impact our community during these perilous times. We've got a powerful lineup of professionals to speak to you today. As the video introduced, backed by popular demand, we have Ms. Gwendolyn Kirkland and Mr. Edgar Wright, who will be providing you with transformative information on budgeting. Following them will be the dynamic Michelle Bobart, Senior Vice President for Guaranteed Rate Mortgage, who's going to provide you with powerful information on home mortgages. The pandemic could be your time to buy a home, refinance your mortgage, or move into a bigger home of your dreams. And finally, yours truly, David Sanders, will be talking to you about getting your income tax house in order. It's not too early to think about your income taxes. In fact, you should have been planning for it all year long. So let's get started. Gwendolyn Kirkland is our first presenter, who is a certified financial planner and general securities principal. In addition, she serves as the managing principal of Kirkland, Tumbo and Associates. She served in the security fields for over 37 years and is one of only 73,852 individuals across the country to carry the CFP registered mark to attest to her experience, her excellence, and her outstanding reputation. She has built a client base of over 1,200 persons, but has helped countless thousands to reach their financial goals. Quoted in several major publications and possessing a bachelor's degree from Bradley University and a master's degree from DePaul University, go Blue Demons, that's my alma mater. We are excited to have her expertise and knowledge with us today. Accompanying her will be Mr. Earl Wright, who is a financial advisor with a wealth of experience and knowledge. a veteran of the United States Army for over 10 years, and ending his career as a commissioned officer in the Signal Corps. Mr. Wright has sacrificed his life for this country. With a bachelor's degree from Chicago State University and an MBA from the Lake Forest Graduate School of Management, Mr. Wright is well positioned to make an impact on the city of Chicago. He serves on numerous professional associations, committing his time and energy towards his wife and children, as well as mentoring at-risk youth. Mr. Wright is a devoted community and family man. So, without further ado, I present to you Ms. Gwendolyn Kirkland and Mr. Earl Wright to talk about budgeting.
Okay, and thank you so very much, Elder Sanders and Pastor Hughes, for the wonderful invitation. And we're going to get started right away. And Edgar Wright, my colleague, is going to begin with the budgeting for the victorious.
All right, thank you, Gwendolyn. And now, as we start on the next slide, we want to make sure that today that we are in alignment with the word. We want to make sure you know the condition of your flock, give careful attention to your herds. This come out of Proverbs 27 and chapter 27 and verse 23 out of the New International Version Bible. If we could, let's go to the next slide. And we want to make sure that we're doing a couple of things as we start our budgeting process. First and foremost, we want to pray for wisdom and discernment with our finances. We want to make sure that, again, in all things that we do, that we allow God to touch it and be involved with it so that it may prosper. Then we want to gather all of our statements from all of our financial accounts and make sure that we have accountability for each and every account that we actually have and possess. Once we do that, then there's the gathering of what we call our insurance policies, to include our employer's insurance and all insurances that we'll have outside of our place of employment. So those are standalone policies. Make sure we gather those. Your check stubs are important to have, and any income statements that you have from 1099s or additional revenue streams that you're producing. And then from there, you want to make sure, as you're putting together your budget, that you're actually keeping an expense journal. You want to make sure that you're noting down all things that you're writing checks out to, that you're spending things on. In fact, let's just pause to say your memory of what goes on with your ATM card isn't sufficient enough. You need to make sure that, yes, you can keep those receipts, but you have to make sure that you're reconciling what you're spending. Lastly, there's a list of monies that you might be owed from other folks. When you're pulling together and starting your budget, make sure you have a list of that. And then make a list of all of the due dates that those particular revenues are in fact due to you. Now we should go to the next slide where actually, Mr. Hayes, we should be at Write the Vision, Make It Plain.
Yes.
If you can find that slide.
Yeah. Thank you.
Write the vision, make it plain. We've gathered all of our documents. We have a note of what's coming in, and we're going to make sure that we're reconciling things. But as we now write the vision and make it plain, what we really want to look for here are two things, right? We want to make sure that every expense that we have monthly is noted. And so if you could, Mr. Hayes, let's go now to our monthly budget estimator. And if you can make that a little larger, great. If not, we'll walk and talk through it. Here is very simple. You want to take action, and everything that's coming in to your house and everything that's going out each month, there should be a note of that on your budget sheet here. Note that what we want every month is what our incomes are from ourselves, our spouses, and then other monthly income. That then totals out to what we have coming in-house. Then there are the expenses. And do note, if we'll stop right here, one of the things that we subscribe to in our financial practice is that you should have a 10, 10, and 80. That 10 is the first 10% that goes to God. That's your tithe. And if you notice on our budget sheet, tithing is there first as your expense. The other 10%, is what you pay and you save towards yourself. And if you notice underneath tithing, there's the savings and the investment. And then the 80, you should be able to live off of 80% of your earned income. And if you aren't able to do that at this stage, we understand, but do start with perhaps 1 and 80, and then just work your way up till you get to the point where you can do 10, 10, and 80. But on this sheet, please note out all of your expenses that are going out. And what you'll come to see is that there are going to be some notations of things that perhaps you understand I'm spending money that's going out on it, but hey, if we can cut back on it. And I'll use a simple one that usually pop at me. The cable bill and the phone bills are usually excessive. All right. And if you got phone bills that are in a position where you can repackage them so that, again, it's a lower monthly payment going out for your family, please do so. Okay. And then as you're making notes of all of those that are going out, at the bottom line here, you will have a line item that will share with you your total monthly expenses. The name of the game is to make sure that you have a surplus. But if you do not have a surplus, this sheet is designed in such a way that once you have accountability of everything coming in and everything that's going out, you should be able to now make adjustments so that that surplus is no longer the negative on the sheet. And then, I mean, if there's a shortage, that's no longer negative on your sheet. You should be working towards getting a surplus. Okay. So very important, 10, 10, and 80, making sure that you have a surplus and not a shortage. And the way that you do that is make copious notes of what's going on. And in fact, the first slide, we talked about making sure you make a journal of all your expenses in addition to your budget sheet. Next slide.
Okay, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So after you've gone over your budget, and one thing I wanted to just add for the budget, when you look at the tithe line, that tithe is from your gross, not from net. So you want to make sure that you are giving God the actual 10% that God is entitled to and that you want to do. And then if you are not a paper person, there also are tools that you can use. There's Nerd Wallet, there's Mint.com, there's Quicken software that you can use to help you with your budget, and pray about it. I'm a witness, you really can live without cable. So if you need to cut some expenses and reduce expenses, you can do that to get your budget in balance. And then now let's look at that line item that was on the budget was credit card payments. And credit card payments are really our way of paying something that we've decided that we want to have it now. And so we're paying future payments for that item or those goods or those services. So as you're looking at that budget, you want to look at every single item. And for your credit card payments, what you want to do is you want to list each credit card balance that you have. If you have multiple cards, you have MasterCard, you have 2 Visas, you got Nordstrom, you got Kohl's, you have gas cards, those kinds of things. List every credit card balance and starting with your budget to see if indeed you do have a surplus. Is there any extra money in your budget that you can use to apply to your credit card payments? You start with the smallest total balance. And for that credit card, you want to take part of the money that you have as a surplus and add it to that payment. So if you are already paying $25 on one bill and you find out, okay, that smallest bill, and maybe that whole balance was $250, and you find out, okay, in my budget, I do have a $20 surplus, use that $20 to add to the $25 you are already paying on that $250 bill until you get that paid off. And when that's paid off, then you go to the next one. Maybe you have another one that's $400, so whatever is the next one. But start with the smallest and go forward. And so after you've written those down and then work that's called the snowball method. You're starting with the smallest and going forward. And you celebrate and you praise God as you get those bills systematically paid off. It works if you work it. So you keep the discipline of paying that off. If you cannot make a payment on time, call the creditor and let them know what you can pay and when. Don't avoid it. Open up your statements. Don't put the mail off on a shelf and think it's going to go away. It's not. So face it so you can work through it. And then think about what's in your house. If you have a shortage, look at what you have around you. Is there something you could sell to raise money to pay off a bill? Do you have a talent? Do you have a skill or a gift? Can you increase your income by using your gift? And that can help you pay down your debt. Pray for God's help to monitor your budget and your spending. I know for many people that B word is very off-putting and it's disconcerting. And it's like, no, I don't want a budget. That's too restricting. It's just helping you keep things in order. And you want to make sure that your finances are in order in your spending. Some things we've confused as needs and they're really wants. They're not really things that we need. And we need to distinguish between those two, what we need and what we want. And of course, God has said that Jesus came to give us life and give it more abundantly, but you also use wisdom in your spending and you don't overspend so that you do accumulate a surplus so that you can be a blessing to others, to your family, to your church, to your community, because you have managed your finances and you've put them in order. So the budget is critical. That's your lifeline. That's managing your funds to make sure you are indeed a good steward of what God has blessed you with. I'm old school, so I write it down. And this is actually the budget that I use. Maybe there's some other categories that you have in your financial life that are not included here. So there's some additional lines that you can use to add to those things. But monitor what you're spending. It's good. And it'll get to be fun. And use your coupons, look for discounts. Yeah, just be mindful. Be a mindful spender. When you're going to the grocery store, have a list. Just don't go arbitrarily and willy-nilly. Have a focus and have a list because God has blessed you with some resources. And it's just a matter of managing them. You want to get mad, M-A-D, about your money. You want to have mastery, authority, and dominion over the finances that you have. Thank you.
So as we see, I'm doing a new thing, and that is we now want to change our behaviors as we look at our budget sheets. I understand that planning budget can be overwhelming, especially if you have not really started doing a budget or you never really made notations on your budget. But here are 3 simple things that if we can summarize this, that will help you get started. First of all, the simplest thing that you can do is make sure you know what's coming in and what's going out. The other essential thing that you want to do, number 2, is have you have enough revenues to cover your essentials. That goes back to what Reverend Kirkland says, needs and wants. Make sure that you're working from your wants and not needs. I mean, you're working from your needs and not wants. I apologize. And so we don't want to overspend there. The third thing is make sure that you have an emergency fund for unexpected expenses. If we do those 3 actions in starting your budget, you will find that things become very successful for you, very fluid, but it becomes a behavioral change. So again, we thank you for the time on creating a budget. We'll be here towards the end to answer any questions that you might have about a budget. But at the end of the day, this becomes your great stewardship for your household in having a budget available, having it active and live, and leveraging it and utilizing it for the greater good of your home and the kingdom. Thank you.
And then when you think about it, and this is our last slide, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he will not depart from it. Your children see your behavior. They see what you're doing, and they're going to model it. So if they see that you go to the store, there's no list, there's no, well, we're going for these specific items, there's no accountability. It reminds me of growing up. My mother kept bills out on the dining room table. Every day, my mother looked at her bills. When I grew up as an adult and I moved out, I looked at my bills every day. That's what I saw. I wasn't paying them every day, but I looked at them every day because that's what I had been taught. And then it finally dawned on me, no, you look at these things at the time, you're supposed to be paying them. But the children are looking at what you do. And if they see you taking out a bank statement or going online for a bank statement and reconciling, see what those debit slips are saying, the ATM slips are saying, or if you're just taking money out, unfortunately, if we're not having those conversations, if we're not sharing with the children, it just looks like what my dad said when we went to an ATM years ago, and he said, now I've seen everything because money comes out of a wall. Well, you gotta have some money on the other side of that wall for some money to come out, and you still have to manage it. So we want to take the responsible steps as far as our funds are concerned.
Well said.
Amen, amen, amen. I know you enjoyed that presentation from Gwendolyn Kirkland and Edgar Wright on budgeting. I wrote down so many wonderful, wonderful things here. Write the vision and make it plain. Gather your records. Write down what you spend. You need to have a 10-10-80. 10% goes for tithes, 10% goes to yourself. 80% should pay all the rest of your bills. Oh my. And when you get through with your budget, you should have a surplus. If you don't have a surplus, rework that budget now. Rework it, because you need to have a surplus and not a deficit. All right. Tithe on your gross. All right. I know some of us we were tithing on our net, but tithe on your gross.
That's it.
Then you need to use that snowball effect. You want to get rid of debt. You start with that smallest one, put all of your energy towards that, pay the minimum on the others because you don't want to be in trouble.
That's it.
Do that and then celebrate that and move on to the next one.
That's it.
And then I like this last one. And, we got to train up our children.
Yeah.
If you follow what you see being done, then you'll follow that, looking at the bills, but not paying them. They were hey, what y'all doing over there? Not paying them until we realize, hey, we better pay those bills. All right. These are things that's helpful to us because we can train up our child to have a head start towards their financial excellence and being in position to have their best life. Thank you all so much. We got to move on, but you will have an opportunity to talk with Gwendolyn Kirkland and Earl Wright at the end of our session. Let's move on to the next speaker. It's absolutely phenomenal. I am so excited about what we are presenting to you today. Our next speaker is exciting. Michelle Bobart, known for providing courteous, customer-driven mortgage services for over 20 years, is fantastic. Her passion is partnering with clients to understand their overall needs and then developing a strategy to meet those identified needs. This takes the stress out of the home buying process and has resulted in her being named a 5-star professional by Chicago Magazine from 2011 to 2020, one of the top 200 mortgage originators in the entire United States, and one of the top 1% of all mortgage originators in this country. Michelle's passion extends beyond mortgages. She is a strong advocate for victimized women and dedicates her free time to helping women overcome domestic abuse and sexual exploitation. Prior to COVID, she volunteered to lead Bible study for women behind bars. When not doing mortgages, Michelle can be found on a mountain where she was recently married, or hiking, biking, or enjoying Chicago's lakefront. I present to you the renowned Mrs. Michelle Bobart, our presenter on home mortgage financing.
Why, thank you, Elder Sanders, for that beautiful intro. And thank you, Pastor Hughes, as well. It is a privilege to be with you all today. And what a wonderful presentation to follow. Gwendolyn and Edgar just nailed it. It's all about budget. It starts with budget. So I am here today to talk about what I have true passion around, and that is helping Chicagoans and all clients, all things home, and as it pertains to financing of your home. So we're gonna, so we got our slides up here. So we can head to the first slide. So today, what I'm super excited to talk about with you, is just, first, I just want to touch on the current mortgage market. Also, for first-time home buyers, what that looks like to get prepped up to buy a home. And then if you're an existing homeowner, does it make sense to refinance right now? And in this current state in the world that we're in, lots of conversation about, is it the right time to make a move? So look forward to diving deeper with you, and we'll head to the next slide. So the National Association of Realtors has a great quote about why is homeownership important. Homeownership is an important source of wealth creation, enabling current homeowners and succeeding generations to move up the economic ladder. Next slide. So what are some of the benefits of homeownership? Everybody on this call today will get a copy of Dave Ramsey's Complete Guide to Money. He's been talking to churches for decades just about good biblical stewardship of money. A couple of things he says. It's a forced savings plan. So if you are a renter right now and you're paying $1,500 a month in rent, and you look at that over a 5-year period, pretending your rent never went up, $1,500 over 5 years is $90,000. Oh my goodness. So why would you not want to be paying and putting that money towards paying down your own mortgage instead of your landlord's? So that is a big reason, because ultimately when we all retire, we want to own our home free and clear. So another thing is it's an inflation hedge. And lastly, it grows virtually, your home equity grows virtually tax-free. And David Sanders is going to be talking a little bit more about that when it comes to taxes, and lots of tax perks with home ownership. Okay, next slide. So this is just a quick trajectory of what the mortgage rates have done over the last several years. So we are at 50-year lows with interest rates. So literally a year ago, the interest rates are a whole percentage point higher. So basically you can afford 10% more home than you could 12 months ago. So right now, the 30-year fixed with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are right around 3%. So it's just an incredible time to be pursuing new home ownership or even a refinance if you're an existing homeowner. Next slide. Okay, so for first-time home buyers, where do you start and kind of what's the overarching process? So the first thing to begin with would be to go to a bank, to a loan officer, to a mortgage planner who is going to help you put together a plan and get you pre-approved for a mortgage. And then you'll take that pre-approval letter, work with a realtor, find a home, make an offer, you get an accepted offer. You go under contract, then you come back to the lender who helps you solidify your mortgage approval and get your mortgage, and then you close on your home. So let's break it down. So next slide. So what does a pre-approval look like, and what are lenders typically looking to review? One is going to be your credit report. It is your report card about how your spending habits and the debt that you're carrying. Also, the lender is going to ask you for verification of your income. So they'll ask you for a couple months of pay stubs. They'll ask you for 2 years of tax returns. And they'll also want to see you have the money for the down payment and also the closing costs. So they'll ask for a couple months of bank statements or asset statements to show that. Next slide. But another really good option is an FHA loan. FHA can be good if your credit score is just a little light. It's not at the top tier. The FHA loan programs don't ding your interest rate, even if you have a little bit lower score. They're also good for folks that are wanting to buy their first property, and it's a multi-unit. FHA gives you a lower entry point for down payment. It only requires 3.5%, where Fannie and Freddie require 20% down on multi-units, for 20 to 25%. And so, and then lastly, FHA is good if you have had, a credit challenge in the past, you've had a bankruptcy or foreclosure. The entry point to get back into homeownership is quicker through FHA financing. And then lastly, jumbo mortgages, they basically are the catch-all if your loan amount exceeds what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lend. So currently, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lend up to $510,400. If you're going for a loan higher than that, you will be a jumbo loan. So next slide. So what is it specifically the bank cares about? They want to make sure they're going to look at your credit report and look at your patterns of repayment and that you pay your other bills on time. So they'll say, okay, chances are they're going to pay their mortgage on time too. They're also looking at your income. It's your ability to be able to repay this loan. And so they want to make sure that you have debt to income ratios that are aligned and in balance with standard guidelines. So in general, what they're looking at two debt to income ratio equations. One is your housing payment divided into your income. And that is just, so your housing payment for your new home would be the principal and interest of what you're repaying the bank. It would be your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, and any condominium fees or association dues. So you take that number, divide it into your income, and ideally, you don't want your housing income to be more than 25% of your overall monthly income. So then they look at another debt to income ratio, and that is everything that you pay. So housing expenses, plus any other minimum bills that you have. So car loans, student loans, minimum payments on credit cards. So they're going to add both housing and other debt together, and they don't want that number to exceed 43% of your gross wages. So, and then just in general, Dave Ramsey, I know he says you shouldn't be more than 25% because you should have, just as Edgar and Gwendolyn said, you need to have that 10, 10, 20. You need to have 10% for God, giving them back your first fruits, and then 10% for savings. So by not stretching it to the limit, you have space for all that. And you also have space for the unexpected, right? Life happens. You need to be able to plan for it and have that emergency fund. So, okay, next slide. And, okay, so now speaking to the current home owners. So, you're hearing it on the news that rates are so low. When does it make sense to refinance? One of the first big things to ask yourself and review is the cost benefit analysis of the refinance. So if you sit down with a mortgage planner and they present you with a quote and a fee summary of how much it's going to cost, what you want to evaluate is how much am I saving every month and how much is it costing me? So for an example, if they tell you that you're going to save $100 a month on your monthly payment and your closing costs are $2,000, if you divide that, 2,000 divided by 100, it's going to take you 20 months to recoup those closing costs. So if you think you're going to move in the next year, might not be a good idea because you may not be able to recoup those costs. If you're in the home that you are like, I'm in here forever, I'm going to raise my kids, I'll be here for the next 10 to 15 years, then just under 2-year break even, probably makes sense to take a strong look at that. There's a variety of reasons that people refinance. One is when you bought your home, you could have had a adjustable rate mortgage, which is a product that has a fixed period of time, but then the rate can adjust and go higher. Well, now is a perfect time to get out of that product and into a fixed rate that will, be the same rate for the duration of your loan. Another is just simply to reduce that interest rate or reduce the cost of borrowing and improve your monthly cash flow. By doing that, then you can pay down other bills, you can accelerate, you can speed up the time in which you're paying off your current mortgage and just shave years off the life of your loan. So lots of different options and ideas. Another one is if you have an established, home and you've been in there a while and your home is appreciated nicely, if there's some aging elements on your home and you just feel like, oh gosh, the roof's ready, it's on its last leg, now would be a good time to evaluate that because you could, at a very low interest rate, borrow the funds to do needed home repairs to maintain your home. The other option is if you do have good equity, you can look at potentially a bill consolidation if that is, if you're paying very high rates on your credit cards because the rates are so low. But again, it's not permission to go ring up your cards again. That would be a shut them down, get rid of them, one and done. And then, and that's pretty much, yeah. Oh, and the other thing too, if you bought your home and you did not put 20% down, which most folks on their first home don't have the 20%, you would have paid something called private mortgage insurance. And that's risk-based insurance. It benefits the lender, not you. And so if you've lived there a couple of years, you paid down your loan and your home is appreciated a bit, and you can demonstrate a 20% equity position, you could also remove your monthly mortgage insurance. And for some folks, that could be $100 to $200 a month. So it could be a huge savings. All right, next slide. All right, so thinking about a move, I would say the sites on, the web like Zillow and Redfin probably were exploding over the pandemic because everyone was reevaluating their home. The floor walls were feeling a little tighter because you were homeschooling your kids. You might be working from home. So everyone was reevaluating their space needs. So in general, obviously, people move, I know I have a lot of city folks moving, out of condos. They want to have a backyard now for their kids. So different space needs, indoor and outdoor. You might, just for work, if you changed employment, be closer to work, relatives, just such a variety of reasons. And also, you might have raised your kids, they're out of the house and now you don't need all the space. You can save some money and you can downsize into a smaller home. Or the opposite, you're raising a family, family's expanding and you have bigger space needs now. So all of these are reasons. One thing as you're going from home to a new home is really evaluating to not put the cart before the horse. Really talk to some trusted advisors. One would be a realtor, get an idea of what your home is worth right now. And just get it from a lender, or anyone is going to really look at the last 6 months. What's the market been doing? So a realtor can give you an estimate on what your home's worth, and then you can sit down with a mortgage planner and do a net cash calculation to figure out what am I probably going to be walking away with in equity that I have to put towards the down payment on the next home. And then look at your new budget, make sure that that you're going to be shopping in the range that's going to support that new housing budget and not get in over your head. So those are some things to think about. Next slide. Yeah, and so just kind of pulling it all together. So again, just starting, it all starts with that budget. So again, Gwendolyn and Edgar gave you great wisdom around building just a strong budget, living within your means. And then once you establish that and you have a little emergency fund, then you can embark on the home ownership process because you'll feel safe. You have a solid plan. And just, the web is filled with tons of information. You've got the sky's the limit about learning about all of these things and just educating yourself more. So really just building a trusted advisory team around you just to help you make these decisions and step into the next path. So, just reiterating what they said, you have a vision, your family has a vision, you have a vision what you want for your family and your children. And so it's about casting the vision, creating the plan, and then you'll set yourself up for success. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. That was fabulous. I learned so much. I mean, I took 2 pages of notes. I'm trying to get them all in here, but I'm going to tell you all that this is some excellent information that you need in order to help you in your life. Listen, I want to just summarize some of the things she talked about. A forced savings plan is the benefit of home ownership. A forced savings plan. Every month that you pay that mortgage, you are paying yourself. Oh my God, that's wonderful. You have an inflation hedge. So if you're worried about what's going on and what's happening out in the world and stuff, you don't have to worry about that because what you've got going on right now with home ownership helps you to ensure that you are going to have a better future because eventually you're going to be able to pay off that home. Then you can grow your interest tax-free. You can grow your wealth tax-free as you're doing that. So this is wonderful. Rates are at the lowest point ever. She gave you the process for you to get ready, get pre-approved, shop for a home, get your credit together. Oh my God, I got so much. Then wait a minute. If you thought you could not qualify for a home, there is an FHA loan. You can get a down payment for 3%. And I think there's a program that if you are a first-time home buyer, they will help you with that as well. So there are so many opportunities. You can go up to $510,000 with a home under FHA. Now, don't y'all start thinking about going out and getting you a mansion. Make sure you can afford it. But wow, $510,000, you have an opportunity. She told you about debt to income. 25% is the expected threshold for your home payment versus your income. And then everything else should be 43%, but you should be focusing on getting that lower. Oh my God. And then she gave you some tips on refinance. Who should refinance? The opportunities there are endless. I don't have time to go over all that, but guess what? Michelle has provided a package for everybody. So you have anybody who's watching here today and members of our church who were not able to make it, you will have a packet tomorrow that's going to be right there that mimics this information. So I am so excited. This is a fabulous presentation, and you should call her because she's one of those trusted advisors that can help you to learn what you need to do and to help you to get to that end game, which is to get your new home or refinance your mortgage. This is your opportunity. Take advantage of it now. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Presentation. She'll be coming back in just a few minutes, but you'll give her things. All right. We are going into taxes now. We're going to talk about taxes. I think it's an absolute wonderful opportunity for us to talk about what you need to know about taxes. Now, I'm going to, before I go into the entire presentation, I am going to talk about a couple of things that's not on these slides, so don't move the slides yet. I think it's really important for you to know this information, and I'm going to tell you. So there's a question out there. Everybody's asking, I got a stimulus check. And taxes are coming up. Am I going to have to pay taxes on that stimulus check? Well, guess what? The answer is no. You will not have to pay taxes in most cases on that stimulus check. It is given to you as a credit, a refundable credit. And so therefore, because it is a refundable credit, it does not go in as income. Isn't that wonderful? Everybody, you got your money and hopefully you used it well. You know, Pastor told you to pay off bills. Did you do that? Okay, I'm not going to ask you. All right, that's great news. And guess what? If you did not get your stimulus check, you still have time. You have until November 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central to apply for your stimulus check. This is what you need to do. You need to go to the Economic Impact Payment Information Center at the irs.gov website, irs.gov. Just put that into your web browser and then go there and then go to the Economic Impact Payment Information Center. And then there will be a link for you to apply to get your stimulus check. So if you didn't send in a 2019 tax return, or if you haven't been filing taxes for some period of time, and you don't have any records with the government, this is your opportunity. Don't waste this. You have until November 21st, 2020, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time to apply. So I want to make sure everybody got that information so that you know that it is available to you and you're not going to have to pay for that stimulus money that you got this past year. And hopefully they're going to have some more coming to you later. But I can't talk about that. We're going to talk about taxes. All right, taxes. So let's go to the first slide here. Want to make sure everybody is aware. And the Lord talks about taxes in the Romans, the 13th chapter, the 7th through the 8th verse. It says, render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. And if you're like, well, Elder Sanders, that don't sound like taxes to me. Well, let me take you to the Message version, which says, fulfill your obligation as a citizen. Pay your taxes, pay your bills, respect your leaders. Don't run up debts. Oh, I know I stepped on some toes. I'm so sorry. Except for the huge debt of love you owe each other. When you love others, you complete what the law has been after all along. All right. So that's our scripture. Let's go to the next thing. Oh, this is can we blow that up? Because we want to make sure that you do your pre-tax prep. Your pre-tax prep. Thank you so much. We got a wonderful media team. All right. So this is do good, help yourself and your fellow man, compile and keep good records. So listen, you've heard that throughout these presentations. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you're keeping good records. But let me give you some tips on what you can do right now, right? Start a business, turn a hobby into a revenue producing event. A lot of times I've been doing taxes for people for a long time. And a lot of times I ask them questions. What are you doing, on the side? And they say, I cut lawns on the side. Is that you get revenue for that? Oh yeah. People pay me. I said, well, turn it into a business. Well, why would I do that? I said, because you can write off all those expenses that are associated with that business. Did you know that? They were like, no, I didn't know that. They said, well, what can I write off? I said, well, guess what? If you put gas in your car to go to that location to cut the grass, that's deductible. If you go and eat a meal during the period of time where you are conducting business, that's deductible. If you had to buy a new lawnmower, if you had to buy a new grass catcher, if you have to buy any of the equipment that's required, all of that's deductible. And that person turned from giving money to the government to being able to get a refund just by looking at things that he was already doing and turning it into a business. This is an opportunity for you. Now, listen, the government doesn't allow you to turn a hobby. You really have to be committed to whatever it is that you're doing. But if this is a business, you can write that off. So when you do that, you have to keep records. Keep records of your mileage, of food, travel expenses, and other allowable expenditures for the business. Now, guess what? Another great benefit, and this is in the Lord's plan. Now, everybody should already be paying your tithes, and because you heard that from two different areas. You heard it from Sister Gwen, Brother Earl. You heard them tell you to pay your tithes, 10% of your income. But guess what? The government allows you to deduct your charitable contributions up to 50% of your income. That's right, 50%. That is one of the best deductions you could ever have. So keep records of that. Guess what? You can also write off when you go and do things for the church or for a charitable organization. So if you go on a run to the store, or if you go to pick up people, all of those are activities that the government allows you to write off the mileage because you are doing a work for a charity. So that is really, really important for you to know. So in order for you to validate that you have those write-offs, you have to have records. So make sure you have records. Donate to the Salvation Army, Goodwill, and other organizations that are helping the people. When you help others, you help yourself. I want to say that again. When you help others, you help yourself. You allow the things that, maybe you've grown out of them, David. No, we ain't gonna go there. Maybe you've grown out of them. You can't wear them anymore, and you can let someone else enjoy them. Now, we want to give good items, but you can donate those things to Salvation Army, Goodwill, get that receipt, and make sure you do two things. One, estimate what the purchase cost was, and then the value of that donation at the time that you gave it. That will be your write-off that you will be able to put together when you go and give that to your tax professional. Next one, pay your real estate taxes on time. Remember to file for your homestead exemption if you live in the home. Listen, you want to pay as little as possible. And if you are a homeowner, you get a homestead exemption that allows you a deduction or a reduction in your real estate taxes. All right. So you need to take advantage of that and make sure that you're filling that out. If you're a senior citizen, you get an even higher reduction. So go ahead and take advantage of those things. If you need somebody to help you to fill those out, we'd be happy to get you some folks. I think Brother Errol could do that for you. We got folks here that are available to do some really great things for you and make sure that you are in position so that you can take advantage of that. And then pay those real estate taxes on time. I know it's hard today in these days and times, but we've got to pay those real estate taxes, and they become a tax deduction as well. Next thing, and this is again, things that, they benefit you in two ways. Pay into your retirement. If your company has a retirement plan, many times they will have a match. My company, once you're vested 5 years, you get a match of 100% of every dollar that you put in to the retirement plan. That means you're getting double for your money. I know that's in the scripture somewhere. Somebody ought to know that. And what I'm going to do is add even more money up to the limits because I'm over 50. I know I don't look it. Y'all so wonderful. But if I'm over 50, so I can add additional monies that is going to allow me to take even more advantage of that. Pay into your retirement. You got to do that. That's going to help you. And you can either defer or deduct those items from your tax return dependent upon the investment vehicle you use for your retirement. And I don't have time to go into all of that because we focused on taxes. But Sister Gwen and Brother Earl can help you as it relates to those areas. So this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you. And we want you to take advantage of this. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, can you blow this one up for me? We're going to talk about a couple of different things that's really important to you. Really, really important. And I say, don't cheat. I know you want to stretch. I know you want to stretch, but you can stretch yourself into an audit. We don't want to do that. We don't want to stretch ourselves into an audit. So don't cheat. There are many, many opportunities for you to take advantage of the tax deductions that are there, right? So here's some of the best deductions that you can have. Children and dependents. If you're taking, we have wonderful people in our land, and especially in our church and inspirational. And you've heard, our speakers, the things that they do outside of their workplaces. So there are wonderful people everywhere. And sometimes you take in folks who are not your biological folks. Guess what? Those folks can become dependents of yours for tax purposes. Doesn't mean that they're legal dependents of yours, but for tax purposes, they say, okay, if they are a part of your household and you provided more than 50% of their living, then they are dependents. You can add them to your tax return. I know you might not have known that, but I want you to know that now. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. Your children, your dependents can not only provide an exemption for you, so a personal exemption that allows you to take advantage of a deduction that the government gives, but also there is a child tax credit if they're a certain age that allows you to get a refundable credit on your tax return. So this is absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. You want to take advantage of that. Mortgage interest and real estate taxes. All right, you've already heard from move it back. You've already heard from Michelle, and she's told us how to get into that house. So guess what? This is what on your tax plan. If you get that mortgage on that house you want, and you're able to write off the mortgage interest and the real estate taxes. Guess what? You can even write off that mortgage insurance. You can write that off on your taxes. Oh my God, this is wonderful. So all of those things that you're doing to better yourself and to better your condition, they are tax deductions. You want to take advantage of it. Charitable contributions. We talked about this already. It's an absolute phenomenal opportunity for you. You want to take advantage of that. That is, again, up to 50% of your income can be written off on your taxes. Educational expenses. Guess what? There are two different ways that the government gives you to be able to take advantage of going back to school and increasing your education. If you are going to a 2-year university or college, like Malcolm X, just putting a little dib out there, Malcolm X is available. But if you are going to a 2-year community college or you're going to a 4-year university, you can write off what you paid for your education. And guess what? Even if you got a loan, because you have to pay back that loan, you still have the ability to use that money as a deduction on your tax return under educational expenses. Didn't know that, did you? But you can. All right. Wonderful, wonderful deduction. And it can be, it depends on your tax circumstances, but it can be refundable to you. All right. Child care credit. If you, during this pandemic, you've had to get somebody to take care of your children. You say, oh my God, these expenses have been crazy. Guess what? They are deductible on your tax return. Now, a couple things. You got to get the person to give you their either social security number or the tax ID number for the organization for you to be able to write it off. But if you can do that, you will be able to take advantage of that child care credit for someone else taking care of your child. So that's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you. These are some of the best deductions that are available to you. Now let's go over to the other side, and I'm going to have to let this go soon. I only have, I think I have 2 more slides, and we're going to get back to the group. So be careful when you take a withdrawal from 401k or retirement plan. You want to think about those implications, all right? It's really, really important for you to, if possible, have them take federal withholding. Now, in the state of Illinois, they do not take out withholdings for any 401k or retirement plan reductions. They don't take anything out for that. So you won't have to pay there, but you will have to pay federal. It will be taxable. Now, let me tell you a few benefits, though, that you might not know. If you take the money out for certain areas, the government will not penalize you for taking out your 401k or retirement plan monies early, if it's for certain reasons. For example, if you have medical expenses that you have to pay and you pay that with the money that you take out from the 401k, you will not be penalized. You will still get taxed, but you will not get a penalty for taking an early withdrawal from your 401k. And an early withdrawal is when you take it out before the time before you turn 59 and a half, or it could be, typically it's 59 and a half. So if you take it out early, then you will pay not only the taxes, but a penalty. But there are certain areas that will allow you the ability to get rid of the penalty. All right. Don't include dependents who don't actually live in your household. I know, I've heard it. I've been doing taxes since I was 14 years old. And folks say, I got a cousin who's got a child, and then they're not putting it on the tax, and I want to put it on mine. Don't do it. I know it's tempting. I know there's a lot of money. Don't do it. Don't do it. It'll get you in trouble. And we don't want you to be in trouble, right? We want you to follow the right things. We want to make sure that they don't come back on you with an audit. All right. That's important. And then with your charitable contributions, I told you about your documented proof, your contribution statements from the church, right? You want to make sure you have that, but you also want to make sure that you have records for that. Don't just depend on the church to provide records for you, because that can be challenged. There was a ruling a few years back where the government said that they will go in and they will not say that just because you got this letter from the church, that means everything's right. They will go in and check. So make sure you have bank statements to prove those charitable contributions that you've given, especially when there's cash donations. There's one other thing that I want to talk about because it's really, really important. And that is when you get unemployment. And by the way, those of you who got expanded unemployment, it is taxable. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm so sorry. It is taxable. So you got expanded unemployment. It will be on. You must put that on your tax return. And so make sure that you're having them take out federal and state, because it is taxable. It has to be a part of your income. All right. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of that. All right. Let's get quickly to the next slide. And then here's, I'm going to make this real quick. Find yourself a good tax professional that you can trust. All right. You know who that is. I can't tell you who that person is. We have some wonderful people here today. As I told you before, we have Brother Earl. We have Sister Gwendolyn. I don't know, she thinks she's doing taxes right now, but she can certainly send you to Brother Earl or anyone else that you feel comfortable with. We want to make sure that you have somebody who's vested in you. If they're vested in you, they're going to ask you questions. You're not just going to throw paper at them and they're going to do it and you don't hear until it's time for them to get that check from you and then they tell you. You want somebody who's going to sit down with you and talk with you about what's going in your life and figure out where there's opportunities to turn a deficit into a surplus. Because we want to make sure that at the end of this, that you have a surplus, whether it's a refund of your taxes or it is you have more money that's coming in your budget. We want to make sure that this thing is going to work for you. So get somebody that you can trust. And the last tip I want to give you is a refund is a return of monies that you deposited or you gave. So I had a client who was mad at me. It's like, why didn't I get a refund? I said, well, you didn't have any money taken out your check. Yeah, but why didn't I get a refund? Well, you earned about 40 grand and so you don't qualify for earned income credit. And because you lowered the number of exemptions, you increased the number of exemptions you had, you didn't have enough money taken out of your check. So you don't get a refund, right? Because you didn't have enough money taken out. So remember, a refund is a return of monies that you deposited or you gave. If you don't have any money in, you can't get any money back. All right. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. So you can do it either way. You can increase your exemption so you got more money in your paycheck, but at tax time, you're not likely to have a refund unless you've got a whole bunch of deductions. Conversely, you can have it taken out and then you can get that lump sum at refund time. So, work with your tax professional. They will help you to be where you want to be. But this is an opportunity for you to live your best life and make sure you have money coming in to your home. So, and I just got told I kept saying Brother Earl, but it's Brother Edgar. So forgive me, Brother Edgar. Y'all forgive me. All right. So this is just a few tips on taxes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We're going to bring the whole group back in, and we're going to bring the greatest pastor anywhere in the whole wide world. I speak of none other than Pastor Shirley Ann Hughes. She is absolutely phenomenal. So let's bring the team back in, because if you've got questions, you have a suite of professionals that can answer those questions for you, and we are here for you. So do we have any questions?
I had a comment. If there Elder Sanders,
please go ahead.
Question yet. My comment was, for that stimulus check, don't forget to tithe from that stimulus check.
You saw Pastor light up. That's right. Pay those tithes.
And that IRS refund check. Don't forget to tithe on that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
one question as well, Elder Sanders. I have had a couple of folks ask about that. But again, if you've been paying your taxes, are we to expect that there will be a direct deposit, or do you need to still go on the IRS website to submit for that particular economic impact payment?
Yes. All right. Great question. So yes, if you want it direct deposited, you will put in your information when you go on there for it to be direct deposited into your account. You can do that, and then they will direct deposit. Otherwise, if you don't provide that information, they will send you a check.
Okay. Good
All right.
stuff.
So you'll have an opportunity. We do have a question, and I'm going to ask that Michelle answered this. But before we do, there's another question that is in the queue, and that is for you, Brother Edgar, and you, Sister Gwen. And that is, are there tax software programs that you can use for budgeting that's going to help you? And if so, what would your recommendation be to use? Because some people feel like, that they're trying to cut down on time and they want to do a budget, but they don't know, what to do. So if you could prepare that answer while I ask Michelle this question that we have. What's the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved?
It is a great question. So, and an important one. So, pre-qualified means that you've had a conversation with a mortgage advisor. You've given them your information. So there's a series of questions that are asked to take a uniform residential loan application that all banks accept and want about your income and your assets. And so a pre-qualification is a bunch of verbal. A pre-approval is when your loan officer actually reviews all your documents. So you provide the pay stubs, you provide your tax returns, because I've had many, many instances, and not intentional, but a client will say, oh yeah, I make $50,000 a year. That's my salary. And then they forget to mention, just as David was talking about, a great strategy for also building wealth is to turn your side hobby into a small business. So if you have additional income coming in, like a small business, it's important to know about that too, because the lender is going to collectively take everything off that tax return, all the income into account. And also for that matter, if you're, one of the benefits of self-employment is you do get a lot of write-offs, a lot of that tax benefit and write-offs, but you could take your income and maybe you have $10,000 in extra income from your side business, but zero it out because of all of your deductions. So, and sometimes it could be a negative number, and that actually has impact on your overall qualification. So super important. And I always say, I want to know everything. I got to know the whole picture. I don't want anything, no skeletons flying out of the closet at the last minute. So pre-approval is what you want to go for. It's a full financial review. My eyes are on all of the income, assets, and credit documents, so I can go thumbs up, you're golden, you're good to go. Because the last thing you want to do is pre-qualification is, in my opinion, like a week, not a strong place to be in, because something, some unknown could surface that you weren't aware of. And again, not intentional, but just, just by me personally not being able to do a full review of a client's profile. So go for the pre-approval.
Great answer. Great. All right. There are a couple of questions that they want you to answer, Brother Edgar and Sister Gwen. So in addition to the budget software, it's how much should I have in my emergency fund? And Michelle, you could answer for that one as well. And then can we get a budget sheet from Gwen and Edgar, and can we get Michelle's phone number? So that's to me. The phone numbers to me. I'm gonna, yes, you will have it. In fact, you'll have a packet on that tomorrow. And Sister Wanda, you will have a packet tomorrow. You don't have to pay for it. Michelle has been so kind. She has sent us a packet for everybody, so you don't have to purchase a packet. You will get one. Just come on to the church, and it's sitting there right there for you. All right. So. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brother Edgar and Sister Gwen.
Okay.
Yes. Ms. Kirkland, I'll defer if you want
to. Budget. Okay. Budget software. You want to look at Quicken, Quicken is a software program, Mint.com, and NerdWallet. Those three I would suggest that you would be able to use. Emergency fund, Edgar. Would you say?
Yeah, emergency fund, the way that as professionals we look at things, when you have your budget and you know, for example, your family is going to spend $3,000 a month to cover all of your outgoing expenses, what we then ask is that you should have 6 months worth of household budget in a savings account that's liquid that you can touch. So in that scenario, the easy math is approximately $18,000 should be in your emergency fund. Do not be dismayed. Most folks do not have an emergency fund. So just start from where you are. And so if that means that you have a surplus and that you are able to put 500 away, please put that 500 away. But what you want to do is to really understand your budget and have approximately 6 months worth of that saved up, because you never know, change of jobs, loss of jobs, illness, sickness, any accident. You want to have your reserve in order so that you're able to sustain yourself when the unexpected come your way. Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
What do you want to use for savings is the 52-week savings challenge, where we're coming up to the beginning of the year. So the first week of the year, you save $1. The second week, you save $2. Then you save $3. So it increases by $1 each week. So that last week of the year, you would save $52 that week. But if you're faithful with that, at that end of the year, you'll have $1,318, I think it is. But it's a way to kind of save.
Wow.
Sometimes people will put aside quarters, or people will put aside nickels or whatever, but you do want to have some kind of discipline in saving.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right. We got another question. Great answers that we're getting from these wonderful professionals. But we got another question, and it's coming from our pastor. So Pastor has a question for Michelle.
Thank you. Michelle, I'd like to know, what can you recommend that we do with so much identity theft? How can we protect our credit? What do you recommend we do to protect our credit from all of this identity theft that's going on?
Yeah, that is absolutely one of the biggest challenges of our time right now. I think, we can put each of the bureaus especially if you've been a victim of identity theft, each of the bureaus allow you to put a notification on your credit that no credit can be taken out, like without your permission. So what it means is, yes, it's a little bit more annoying. Like if you go to apply for a new piece of credit, you're gonna have to do some extra steps, but it's well worth it. So that would be one of and that's a free way to kind of put a hedge of protection around your credit. The other way, there has been, obviously there's a lot of different credit monitoring services, like LifeLock is one that comes to my mind. And a lot of larger employers, I know mine allows for pretty cheap, like $5 a month or something, for somebody to help you monitor. So it'll trigger an alert. So those are, but I think, just from a free, I think that would be a first step and yes, like I said, it's a little annoying because then when you go to do something, you got to actually take some extra steps, but I think it's well worth it in the long run, because it's crazy, with the advances we've had with the web is a lot of good, but then that's also, is a bad thing too. It's a challenge. So, okay, great question.
Thank you.
All right. We are getting a wonderful stream of questions. I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork. So I'm going to throw out a couple right now. So we have one that says, if you tithe on the gross earnings, do you still tithe on the tax refund?
I would say yes. You tithe on all money that comes to you. If you give money for your birthday, you tithe, because it's all coming from God, and God gives you the ability to get wealth. And you thank God, you're grateful. And I can assure you that you can't over tithe. Because God is going to keep pouring it back to you. So yes, everything that comes to you, all money that comes to you, you tithe from that.
Sister Gwen, I think you're going to be an honorary member of Inspirational. You keep on talking like that.
Amen.
You making our pastor smile. All right. All right. We have another one that says, I don't, and this is for for the panel. So, any of the panel members can answer. I don't have a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money. Should I focus on financial planning? I don't know if I can afford it.
Okay, that's a great question. So proportionately speaking, regardless if you make $4,000 a year or $400,000 a year, I would ask that you start to build out on that 10, 10, and 80.
Yes.
Okay, start that process. Then secondly, make sure you get a handle on the budget. Most people don't have a lot of money, but regardless of where you are, you have to make it work from that level of where you currently are, and then hopefully making plans to move forward to increase that. And it will increase if you work the plan. Okay, so let's just say I don't have a lot. I am stretched to the hilt. There's no way I can save and tie. And most people will make that statement. And what my statement would be is just start wherever you are. I think during my presentation, I said if you
thank you so much. We got some more questions here. So I'm going to go through them. We got about 3 minutes left. So let's get these questions in. 3 minutes left. So this next one says it's from LJ Jackson. Says, is inheritance income taxable? Is inheritance income taxable?
Depends upon what it is.
How it passes.
Yeah.
How it's. I don't know if I will
answer that. So it depends. The answer is it depends. Every situation is different, and the government does allow you to exempt certain portions of inheritance income from taxation. However, once you go over a certain income threshold, if there are other circumstances involved, you could pay taxes on it. So you'd have to sit down with your tax professional, and your particular situation will have to be evaluated to determine whether or not it's taxable.
Good
Okay?
answer.
Let me go to the next one. It says, I had a relative pass away without life insurance. What is the difference between whole and term life?
Should I take that, Ms.
Yes,
Kirkland?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
In terms of term life, as if you were renting, and then at the end of your lease, now that rental agreement that you have actually falls off. Term life looks that way as well, meaning that you might have a term policy for the next 20 or 25 years, but after that term of 20 or 25 years, you no longer have insurance, or if you do or are allowed to continue it, it's going to be at a very elevated price point. Whole life means that you have this policy for the rest of your life as long as you make your monthly premiums. In most cases, I would argue, if you can, you want to establish whole life insurance as early as possible. The younger you are with less health ailments, the more inexpensive that monthly policy would look for you. So hopefully that helps, but that also takes a little deeper dive to determine sometimes it's appropriate to have term life, right? And sometimes, you need a hybrid. So you would have to have a little consultation to determine what's the best approach for your situation. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Great answer. And we got to close out. So we have one last question, and I'm going to ask Michelle if you would take this one. It says, what happens at closing, and how long does it take to close a home?
Great question. So in general, I'm speaking Chicagoland. We are an attorney state, so we use an attorney for our closings. I always tell clients to allow for 2 hours. But with a lot of our efficiencies in the mortgage industry, a lot of things now we can actually DocuSign a lot of our package. You can look at the package with your attorney the day before, get up the morning of closing, hit a couple buttons, and boom, you've signed 50 papers. So it has really cut down on that process to the point where we can get, and we've gotten very creative in COVID times. So we can literally get a closing down to 30 minutes. So a refinance is also, you can do the same thing. You can DocuSign a lot of the documents. So you can really get a refinance closing down to about 30 minutes as well. But in that, I'd say just in general, allow for an hour. Purchases 2 hours, refinance an hour.
Fantastic. Well, we've still got some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send those questions to you all and try to get them back to the individuals so we make sure that we answer everybody's question. But we've got to close out on time. And I certainly want to give time to the person who is the visionary of this all.
Yeah.
Our pastor is a wonderful, wonderful leader. Her desire is to impact not only inspirational, but the communities and the city of Chicago as a whole. And so she is the vision behind these conferences and allows us the latitude to bring in professionals and to help to give you information that's going to help you to live your best life. So I want to present to you the dynamic leader of the Inspirational Deliverance Center Church of God in Christ. She is also the supervisor of women for the First Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of Illinois. She is our angel and our wonderful leader, Pastor Shirley Ann Hughes, at this time.
Thank you so much. My sincere thanks to Elder Sanders for putting this seminar together, and also to our presenters. They were fantastic. We need more time with you. For Edgar, Michelle, Gwendolyn, you were just a blessing to us for our everyday lives. And when Elder Hughes founded this ministry, he said this should be a ministry about the total man. Everything that involves the total man. So I'm saying to everybody, I hope you take note and advantage of all the information that was given to you. Listen, it's priceless. You were blessed to have these wonderful presenters on and give you that information. And please, please take advantage of what they shared with you. Again, Elder Sanders, thank you for reaching out to them. I would just like to say, and it's so many questions were unanswered. We would just like to be able to, have a repeat a little later on because we need this. And it's enlightening, it's helpful. Thank you all so very much. Again, Gwendolyn, Michelle, Edgar, and of course, Elder Sanders for putting this together. God bless you. Thanks of God. You'll have that, people of God, you'll have that information, which Michelle says shall make possible for you. And you can get that tomorrow at Inspirational Deliverance Center, Church of God in Christ, 647 North Parkside, Chicago, Illinois. We will be there from about 8:30 tomorrow. So stop by. And thank you, Michelle, for making that available. And I just want everyone to know, even in this pandemic, you can yet have and be successful. You can have a home, and above all, you can work on becoming debt-free. That is the sentiments of my heart. And I've said so many times, I desire that every member of Inspirational be a homeowner. So God bless you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Elder Sanders. Back to Elder Sanders.
Bless you, Pastor. Thank you so much. I heard the message. I got my marching orders. We're going to bring it back again. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. This was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us. And we look forward to blessing you again in the future. Mind and Soul Conference 2 is over. You have a great day today.